Today is a letter whose goddess we really need to look out for these days, especially in these bad times in this pandemic. Today is L, and it's L for Lakshmi. Welcome to yet another episode of the A to Z of iconography at INSTUCEN. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for listening to us. It's such a joy to hear from you guys and to get the kind of feedback that we're getting. And thank you for your likes. Thank you for your shares. Thank you very much for subscribing. And it really makes us want to do this. And we're already thinking of doing other A to Z series when this one is over. So thank you very much. So today, essentially, we are looking at L for Lakshmi. Lakshmi is one of the most popular and most influential goddesses of the entire Hindu pantheon. Wife of none other than Vishnu, part of the Holy Trinity of Indian Hindu faith. One of the two most powerful gods, along with Shiva. In her own right, the goddess of wealth and good fortune, the goddess of plenty, the goddess of the harvest, the goddess of fertility, and a very important deity, also known as Shri sometimes. At other times, Shri and Lakshmi are separate at the feet of Vishnu, also known as Gaja Lakshmi in her form, and as Maya. She forms the sacred trinity of goddesses along with Parvati and Saraswati. And in the Shaivite pantheon, she is the daughter of Parvati or Durga and the sister of Saraswati. She is one of the great divine energies or Shaktis in her own right. And in certain forms of Shaivite Vaishnavite worship, she is known as the female Shakti of Vishnu or the female manifestation of Vishnu. She has 8 prominent manifestations known as the Ashtalakshmi or the 8 sources of wealth. Do look that up on the net. There's only that much that we can do in these short lives that we do over here. But there is some very interesting iconography that exists for the Ashtalakshmis, and the Ashtalakshmis are worshipped, interestingly, not just in India. She is usually shown in a 4-armed or 2-armed position, either seated or standing upon a lotus in bloom, with lotuses in her upper arms signifying knowledge and self-realization, and the fact that the lotus grows from the filth and the dirt and the mud, and yet clarifies the water and brings forth something so beautiful. So, along with that, her 4 arms represent the 4 great goals of humanity: Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Her open lower arms signify the giving of dana or charity or the bestowing of wealth. In her earliest representations that we know of, she is interestingly depicted not so much as a Hindu goddess, but as a Buddhist goddess, and is part of Buddhist iconography that we see at a number of Buddhist places. We see her at Bharut. We see her again at Sanchi in numerous forms. We see her on the coins of Isilis, the Indo-Scythian ruler, the coin that you see on your right-hand side. And in all of these forms, she is usually shown as Gaja Lakshmi, where either seated or standing, on both sides of her are 2 elephants pouring water out of kalashas onto her. So this form of Gaja Lakshmi is sometimes very interestingly interpreted by Buddhist scholars as being a manifestation of the birth of the Buddha and a manifestation of the mother of the Buddha, and that the Gaja Lakshmi represents the conception and the birth of the Buddha himself. Now, you can argue about these. These are various different stands that are taken by various different schools. Though the Gaja Lakshmi image, flanked by the elephants, which symbolize once again abundant fertility, fecundity, rain, so on and so forth, hard work, are very important lakshanas. She's also often shown with an owl. In fact, in the Bengali representations, she's almost always shown with her Vahana, the owl, which signifies wisdom because it has both eyes that look forward. She's very often interpreted as the Indian Athena, or Athena is interpreted as the Indian Lakshmi. And for those that do not know, Lakshmi was not always the sattvic goddess, but in her earliest forms, if you read the earliest texts that talk about her, she was also a rather wrathful goddess. She's often shown with Vishnu in different forms. So very often she's just a small flanking image as Vishnu's consort. She might be singly there or there as Shri and Lakshmi, one on each side of Vishnu. But she's also shown seated on Vishnu's left lap. Those images are called uh, Lakshmi Narayana images, where Vishnu is known as Narayana. She's also shown seated in the same position on the lap of Narasimha. And these are Lakshmi Narasimha images. In fact, the great image at Hampi, which everybody thinks is a Yoga Narasimha image, was actually put together wrong. And it's actually a Lakshmi Narasimha image. And if you ever go to Hampi, do go behind the image and you will see Lakshmi's arm where she's holding on to him, still there. And that's all that remains of the Lakshmi image today. She's also seen seated on Hayagriva's knee, where Vishnu is Hayagriva. And here, interestingly, it's not Lakshmi Hayagriva, but Hayagriva Lakshmi. And this is something that we've already discussed when we talked about Hayagriva, H for Hayagriva. She's mentioned in the Rig Veda only once, but she's there. She is mentioned in the Atharva Veda. She's mentioned in the Brahmanas, especially the Shatapada Brahmana. She's mentioned in the Upanishadic text. There are a number of stotras and sutras specifically talking about Lakshmi herself. She's mentioned in the Puranas, especially the Matsya Purana, and she's mentioned in the epics, and she plays an important role in the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. She's seen on medallions, as I told you, in various places, and she's very, very much part of Buddhism and Jainism, and she's seen on Buddhist and Jain sculptures. In fact, on modern Jain temples, she is almost invariably seen in the same kind of manifestation that you see in Hinduism and on Hindu temples. We've known of her on the coins of the Indo-Scythians and the Guptas, and a couple of interesting coins that I'm going to show you. Coming up, we know of her from Sri Lanka, from Southeast Asia, and all the way to Japan. So she's very, very much a part of the Buddhist and Jain pantheons. So the earliest forms that we know her of are as Najalakshmi. And as I told you, she's normally seen on Buddhist monuments. On the extreme left on top, you have her from Bharut, dating to somewhere around the early 2nd century BC. In the 1st century BC, 1st century AD, we have her at Sanchi, again shown seated, in this case, on a lotus with 2 elephants, again on lotuses, and pouring water onto her. On the right-hand side, she is seen on a pillar railing from Sanchi, where she is not shown along with elephants, but just holding lotuses. Next to that is the famous coin of Azilis. And below that, when we start from the left-hand side, that is the coin of Chandragupta II, the famous Gupta emperor, also known as Vikramaditya. And you can see the 2-handed Lakshmi. Lakshmi was the patron goddess of the Guptas. And on almost all the coins of the Guptas, you will see an image of Lakshmi. We also have her from the Rashtrakuta period, and you can see her on the right-hand side over there. This is from the Ravana caves at Ellora. We also have beautiful bronze images of her from southern India that you see on the right of that. And of course, we have Ravi Varma paintings, and Lakshmi is shown again emerging from a lotus. One of the stories of her birth, of course, is that she was born when the ocean of milk was churned, and she came out Swayambhu from that churning event. That, of course, is one of the stories of the birth of Lakshmi. We also see Lakshmi, very interestingly, from the Gupta period onwards, along with Sheshashayi Vishnu, or Anantasai Vishnu as he's called, Vishnu resting on the ocean of milk on the coils of the great Adishesha, and pressing his feet is usually his wife Shri/Lakshmi. So on the right-hand side, you have a beautiful image from Devgarh, one of the earliest temples belonging to the late Gupta period, where you see this beautiful sculpture over there. And on the top, of course, is Dhurandar's famous painting of Sheshashayi Vishnu and Shri/Lakshmi. We have her from various different representations on various different medium. There is a beautiful Lakshmi image that you see on the left-hand side belonging to the Shunga period from Eastern India. This is what is called a single mold image. This was made out of a mold and meant either to be hung around your neck or on the walls or as a votive image that could travel with you. To the right of that, you have a beautiful schist image from the Gandhara region, and you see the impact of the Greco-Roman style or the Gandharan style in the robes and the crown that she's wearing. And of course, you see one of the 2 elephants. The other side is sadly broken. You also see Lakshmi on a beautiful seal belonging to the Gupta period, and you can see the Gupta period lettering On that scene, immediately under her, you can see her standing on a lotus, and you can see the elephants on both sides of her. She's seen on a wide range of coins. On the left-hand side are two very, very famous coins. The one on the top belongs to Satakarni, the famous Satavahana emperor, and the one below is also attributed to him and is in lead. These are very, very rare issues dating back sometime to the 1st century BC AD period, maybe a little later. In the center, we have a very, very unique coin. This is a die-struck coin from Sri Lanka, which has a standing Gajalakshmi. And if you look carefully, you can see the lotus and you can see the two elephants and two small lotuses near her shoulders. This vertical kind of representation is very rare, and these are much sought after coins. On the top, you have one of the coins of the Kunindas, and you see the goddess Lakshmi once again, and you see her below also. But the most interesting coins of the goddess Lakshmi are these gold dinars of Muhammad bin Sam, also known as Muhammad Ghori. Yes, these are the coins of the beginning of the Islamic Sultanate to show the kind of continuity with the kind of coinage that existed. The gold coins of Muhammad bin Sam are minted in the same way as the prevailing coins were. And you have the name Muhammad bin Sam very clearly on these coins. And you have Lakshmi on the other side. And these are very, very unique Islamic coins bearing the image of Lakshmi dating back to a very, very early period, right at the beginning of the Sultanate epoch in India. This is, of course, Lakshmi Narayana on the left-hand side. You can see Garuda with the wings bowing below, and you can see Lakshmi's elephant next to him. You can also see Lakshmi Narasimha in the Chola style, though this, of course, is a more modern image, but made in the Chola style. And of course, you have a beautiful painting of Hayagriva Lakshmi, which is still used for worship in various different houses in southern India. Paintings abound of Lakshmi in different styles. And usually the Gajalakshmi image is a very, very strong image in Indian art. You see the Tanjavur painting style on the left-hand side, and you see the Kalighat style on the right-hand side. So one from southern India, one from eastern India. And the popularity of Lakshmi is from north to south and east to west. There is no part of India where the goddess Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, of course, is not popular. Lakshmi Puja is a very, very big thing and a very big festival. Lakshmi Puja is celebrated in households. It is celebrated by women. It's a very big celebration in Bengal, and you can see the image on the top right-hand side. The pandals are put up, the entire pantheon is represented. Lakshmi is seated in the center and is usually worshipped with a large sheaf of rice in one hand. This represents, of course, her fertility and thanksgiving for a good harvest. She's often shown flanked with Ganesha and Saraswati, showing wisdom and plenty. And this is the kind of image that you would usually see inside a chopra. So these are the books that are made anew every year. And Lakshmi Pujan is the day of the year where new books are made by all the business communities, especially in Western India. And it's a very, very quiet, but very, very serious puja that is done. And as I said, of course, various households perform Lakshmi Puja also. So there are Lakshmi images that are seen outside of India too. This that you see, this is all image, all copies of the same image, is a very, very famous Lakshmi image that was stolen, looted from Nepal, and then returned very recently back to the Nepalese government. So it's a beautiful image with great influences of the Pala style that can be seen on it over here. You have Lakshmi seen all over Southeast Asia. You can see her in a wooden panel from a roof eave over here. You can see her on the right-hand side from the top of the temple in the Khmer style. Below, you see her from Thailand. You see her from Vietnam. You see her in the Khmer style. You see her in the Chinese style on a beautiful painting, on a silk painting. And of course, you also see her in Japan. So all the way to Japan, the goddess Lakshmi is very, very much part of the Buddhist pantheon. And images of her are seen across Southeast Asia, China, Tibet, Nepal, and all the way to Japan. And of course, we have her being worshipped very, very seriously in India today. And these are times when we really need her to come visiting our houses. We have a saying in Gujarati, Jare Lakshmi ghere chandlo karwa ave, tore monu dhova nahi javano. It says when Lakshmi comes to knock on your door to bestow wealth on you, don't go to wash your face, but go and open the door first. So on that note, thank you very, very much for being with us. As I told you all guys, the INSTUCEN summer school is on. More than 50 different programs run by INSTUCEN are available for as little as 500 rupees for 3 months. And all these recordings are yours to listen to. For students, we have a special discount of just 200 rupees. And I think nobody else will give you the kind of knowledge package that INSTUCEN is offering. Please go online and look it up, and please subscribe. It's something that will really keep you going and will keep you buzzed in these kind of down times. We are at the rate INSTUCEN on Twitter, at the rate INSTUCEN on Instagram, INSTUCEN Trust on Facebook, and INSTUCEN Trust on LinkedIn. Do follow us, do hit the like button, do subscribe to our channel, and we look forward to coming back to you on Monday with the alphabet M. So thank you very much for being with us. Please follow our hashtags, Idle Stories, Lockdown Gyan, Learn with INSTUCEN. Thank you very, very much for being with us on this Friday afternoon.
Done, sir.